Howdy, everyone. We are back with the Austinalysis series, and today we're going to review the Central Market in Austin, Northwest Hills, Crestview, Allendale, Mueller, and a couple of other neighborhoods. Let's hit it up. So, welcome back for those of you who are joining us, and welcome for those of you who are with us for the first time. My name is Yochanan, and I'm doing these live streams every week to cover all of the Austin metro area. And today we're going to talk about the central area. And we have the map here. So the central area is mainly Northwest Hills, Allendale, Crestview, and then Mueller as well. I include it even though it's a bit farther down to the east, but it's definitely the same type of neighborhood compared to other neighborhoods that we see there. I decided to put them together because these neighborhoods are kind of alike to a degree. I think that the hillside here, the Northwest Hills and Crestview, are quite different, but I think that people that are looking in these two areas will typically cross shop. So I figure it made sense. And if we're looking at this area here, what do we have around it? So we have a bunch of grocery stores and several restaurants. These are my favorite. We have way more restaurants, but those are the ones that I like. And if we're looking at schools, then the top public schools aren't necessarily in the area. We have several good ones. We do have some average schools as well, and there are some good charter schools. So if you're into that, you can check it out. And I want to review all the data that we've seen over the course of April. So this is May update, meaning that we see everything that closed through April and some things that we can see in May. So what did we see with the market? What are the market trends? First, let's talk about volume. We've seen that the volume of deals decreased, contrary to what I would have expected, given that we are entering into April, entering into the hot season. We're seeing less deals on April, and we see less volume because of that. It kind of makes sense. We're going to see the median prices in a moment. And I think that I want to pause for a minute and look at this and kind of understand what's going on here. And I'm thinking that basically in February, in March, we saw some unclog of basically all the cold season from before. But even still, I think that people are just sitting on their properties because of what happened in the macro level. We saw increase in the interest rates, and sellers don't necessarily want to sell their property for less than what it used to be worth and move to something else and take a larger mortgage. If you already have a good loan locked at like 3% rate and you are a seller, maybe you don't want to move if you don't have to. What did we see with the prices? So the median price increased by 17%. What we're seeing in the green here are the closed prices of all the deals that we have seen. And this is interesting. We've seen an increase in prices up to January, which doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense for me because this is like the cold season. So I think it's more of an outlier. We've seen some reduction in March and then a big leap between March and April. So I would say that we need to average this thing out and then see like a smaller uptick compared to if we just look at March. The other thing that we're seeing here is the days on market. It's been reduced from 23 days on market in median to 10 days. So 3 weeks to like a week and a half, properties sell fast. So they go in the market 1 weekend, maybe 2 weekends, and they're out of it. We can see it's kind of a roller coaster with the prices. It is kind of interesting. I didn't expect to see this. And let's see. Oh, yeah, and the inventory we spoke of earlier. And when we're looking at the price per square feet, that is when it gets a bit more interesting to me. So the price per square feet is a better metric to review compared to median prices, because prices can vary, but it's really important to see like what type of inventory is being sold. And the price per square feet that we've seen is going up. We do see an outlier in January, but if we're looking at before 414, 419, 418, and then 440 in March, and now 457 in April, for 57 properties sold, when we have 130 properties under contract, and we're seeing the list price going up. This is the first time that we're seeing for quite a while closed prices that are above the list prices. So this might predict a market shift. I am not sure that is the case. We need to see some more data points. This is not enough. And also it's kind of confusing because we're going to see the price difference in the next slide. But generally speaking, I'm saying that the median close price per square feet is above the median lease price per square feet, meaning that properties are getting sold over asking, not all the time, but sometimes. So people that are thinking that this is like a deep buyer's market, I don't think it is. We do see that this is the peak hot season, but the inventory is limited. That is surprising, and I referred to it earlier. And this is the thing that I find the most interesting. This is one of my favorite slides, the engagement, like how do we engage with the property? And what we see in the light red is basically what is the price that the property was originally listed for compared to what it was eventually closed for. And the darker red, we're seeing what was the property listed for finally when it closed. I like to call it a delusional factor because it's like sellers, how delusional were you when you listed the properties? And you can see they were quite delusional in December, but it is getting lower and lower and lower. And right now, it's pretty much the same. Like original list price compared to the close price is minus 14 grand. And the final list price compared to the close price is minus 10 grand, meaning that properties are selling for 10 grand under the final list price in average. Okay, so remember this. You have a lot of deals. Some sold for more, some sold for less. About 1% under the contract. So when you are engaging with a property in this area, you want to engage in average for less than that. Now remember, per deal, you need to look at the deal and understand how is it priced. So I'm not saying that every engagement is the same, but you look at this and kind of know whether you are beating the benchmark. What else do we see here? We've seen that the close price is reduced. So it was about 20 grand below the final list. And this is the first month that we're seeing 10 grand. And I'm really, really curious to see what we're going to see in May. So come back in May and see what happened. So what are the takeaways from all of that? Basically, the market is kind of balanced. It is not the crazy buyer's market that we've seen a year ago, and it is not the deep seller market that we've seen maybe, the crazy seller market and the crazy buyer market that we've seen maybe of recent months. It's more balanced. Inventory is low. It's interesting, and we need to be aware to that. So if you've been looking for a place for a while, kind of understand that there is less inventory, practice some patience, and make sure that you engage with the right property. The market is trending upwards. The data basically speaks for its own. So if you're thinking that the properties are going to decrease in prices, they might, but I'm not sure that the data supports it for now. And the last thing, more macroeconomics, but inflation, it's going down. And when inflation is going down, there is a pending question of what's going to happen with the interest rates, because if the Fed doesn't increase the interest rates, I don't think the prices will keep going down, but we'll have to wait and see. For now, we're about 5% of inflation compared to like previous averages on basically what we're aiming for, which is like 3.5. We are getting really close to the mark. Okay, sales data. What is selling in this area? So we're seeing that most of the properties that are being sold in the central Austin market are they're evenly distributed between the 500 to 1 million price group, but it's kind of misleading because all of these 14 houses that sold for less than 500 grand, well, almost all of them are condos. So here you see the same graph here, but I removed the condos, and you can see there are almost no properties. So if you are looking to purchase in this area, you need to come with enough money. And if you're looking to purchase in this area a single family home and you have 500 grand, it's going to be difficult unless you're going to tear down the properties. So what are we seeing here? Basically, the average price per size group. So we took from light to dark green, different size groups below 1,200 square feet, below 1,800 square feet, and so on. And we can see that below 1,200 square feet, we're seeing like a median price point of about 400 grand. And these are the condos that I referred to earlier. And then below 1,800 square feet, the average price is $650,000. So you need to come with this, you need to prepare this amount of money ish if you're engaging. We're going to see the years sold. These properties are typically old, so I would highly recommend to prepare more money if you're going to go into the central market. It is not a cheap market, about $500 per square feet. That's not cheap. What are we seeing with properties sold? So we can see that the majority of the sales are anywhere between the 16 to 2400 square feet. So that's kind of the bread and butter of this area. It does vary between like Northwest Hills and Crestview and Mueller. These are like different markets, and we can go deeper into them when we go into the tool after the slides deck is over. Typically, we're seeing properties that are kind of 3-bedroom to I'm sorry, like even 2-bedroom to 3-bedroom. You don't have a lot. Like you don't have a lot of bedrooms. It's not a huge property. So if you're looking for a big place, maybe in the Northwest Hills area, but only if you're planning to dish out a lot more than $650,000. It's going to cost you something like 1.25 to 1.5. Lots. We're seeing that the lots in these areas are small. We divided to like up to like 0.4 acres, because more than that you have nothing. And you can see that even there, like look for something like below 1/3 of an acre and you barely have inventory. This is the amount of properties sold here, and that is the price per square feet. And we can see that you typically don't really have big lots there. So if you do see a property on a larger parcel and it's a tear down, remember that the lot value is probably high. So factor that into the price point. Last, this is an interesting one. The pools. The pools here are selling for less. Properties with pool, price per square feet, we're seeing less. $420 per square feet for property with a pool compared to $480 for property without a pool. And this is one of these cases when statistics are just confusing. And I would just say that you see this because the newer properties, the new build, the ones that are pushing the price per square feet upwards, they typically don't have pools because the lot size is small. So I wasn't even sure whether I should include this one in the presentation. And the last slide is the year built. If you're going into the central area, you're going to see either older properties before the 78 mark, before 1978, or newer builds, over 2020. That's kind of where most properties are. In the middle, in the 2000s and 90s, you don't have a lot. So either you're going to buy something older and either live in it when it's older or renovate it, or maybe buy something older that was deeply renovated, or go towards the new builds, but prepare to pay the money. And we can look at the prices if somebody wants. We can look at it in the graphs. So the takeaways. Okay, this is the slide from before, so I'm going to skip it. I forgot about this slide. Sorry for that. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the deck. That's what we've seen. Now, the next portion is basically going into the tool and basically running whatever it is that you want to run. Let's look at the data and try to understand what is going on. And so let me give you an example here. If I want to look at the properties, because I referred earlier and I mentioned that Mueller and Northwest Hills, these areas, they're different. So if you want to look only at the prices in Northwest Hills, for example, I'm going to take the zip code and see Northwest Hills is in 78731. So if I'm looking at the data here, like what are the prices there in Northwest? Sorry for that. Let me just. Okay. My computer is even slower than usual. How fun. So we're seeing that the median price point differs from what we've seen earlier. You see the property prices there are more expensive. So in Northwest Hills, like the median price point in March, we've seen like $950 for 24 properties sold. And then in April, we're seeing something like $167 with 14 properties sold. We do see an increase in days on market for the properties that are currently under contract. We'll have to wait and see in the next month and see what did it close for. I think it would be interesting to look at a larger time frame. So let's look at the last 9 months and see what was the trend in Northwest Hills. And if you have other questions, if you have other things you want to see, ask me in the comments. I will show whatever it is that you are interested in. So here, if we're looking at what happened over the course of the last 9 months, we've seen prices around the 900 mark. And look at this, like February, we see an uptick here. And then in April, we see kind of a big jump. I want to look at the price per square feet and see if it increased or just maybe just more expensive properties were sold. So we're seeing that the price per square feet was 418, 455, 3. Yeah, and we're seeing that it did increase. So the price per square feet increased as well. And I think this is interesting too. In April, compared to March, is the first time that we're seeing list prices and closed prices that are converging. So here we see that everything closed below the list price. Also here. And here we're seeing conversions. This was also like, I think in December, we see it's kind of a convergence too. So I'm really curious about what's going to happen on May. I think because you see also the list price that is also going upwards. So that is interesting. We were seeing here that the days on market used to be like so much more on the cold season, and now it's just in April, 6 days on market. This is a very hot market when you have 6 days. It's basically like one weekend. So that's what we've seen in the Northwest Hills area. I see a question here. Can you show how a condo or townhome prices stack up compared to single family houses? That's a great question. Let's take a look. So let's remove the zip code. And now I'm going to look at the entire area. And by the way, if anybody wants like a specific area, a specific neighborhood, let me know. I'm going to look into that. So if I'm looking at the single family residence, what I'm seeing is pretty much a median price point of 950. So we've seen like an upwards trend. Then I don't know what happened last month. It's kind of interesting to see. We see an upwards trend and then like this dip, but then this one is really in correlation with the trend. And we're seeing the price per square feet now kind of about the same. So it's not really trending upwards here from what we're seeing. So for the single family home, about 950 median price point, about $500 for median closed price per square feet. And then if I change it to a condominium, and I will change to townhome afterwards. So I'm expecting to see like a lower median price point, of course, but I think the price per square feet is interesting. So we're seeing that for condos, So for condos, we are seeing, so basically this is interesting. What, is it still updating or something? Why don't I see the data? It's probably still updating. But I'm saying, the median price point is significantly lower, obviously, 426. Here, I'm not sure what happened. I have some sort of a bug here. I don't see like the inventory. Maybe nothing was closed here. So we see like 400 to 426 median price point. And the close price is about 376, 370. So $370 per square feet for a condo compared to a single family home. So quite a big gap. Let's look at the townhouses, because townhouses typically look like a single family home. They kind of, some people are, some realtors are even going to say the price is the same, which is not necessarily true. You don't own the land. It's a different type of situation. So I definitely don't agree that it's priced the same. And let's see how much they sold for. So it's still updating. And I'm sorry again, like this tool is, I developed it on the wrong platform. So I need to move it to something a bit more robust. But we're seeing that the median price point it was 500. We see 580 here. And then the close price per square feet is less than condos. We're seeing price per square feet around 330 for the townhouses. But only, this is only one inventory. So I wouldn't even, this is like sample size of one. It means nothing to me. So we need to look at a bit more sample sizes. But if we look at all of these sample sizes, 340, 310, 330, 330 is pretty much where it's at. So we can see that the single family home comes with significantly more. It costs way more to buy a single family home. It's because you own the land. It makes sense. I think an interesting market to look at it is to look for this type of data is also Mueller. I'm not sure if I have it here or not. I don't see it here, so I think maybe I have a little bug here. But with Mueller, you typically get condos, and when you buy single family homes there, they are really strong. And I've seen several deals there that sold for just way more than what you would expect. Any other questions? Anything I can show you on the tool? Let's take a look at Crestview and Allendale, 78757. That's a zip code I like. So Crestview and Allendale, these are strong neighborhoods. You have a lot of development surrounding it. You have a lot of new builds that are selling there. So I wonder what is going on there. And I'm seeing, no, this can't be true. I'm looking at the wrong thing. I see only 6 entries, so something is broken here. Okay. Let's look at Brentwood, 5-6. Oh, because I look at townhouses. I forgot to remove this. You don't really have townhouses in Crestview and Allendale, as you can see. Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. So for Crestview and Allendale, we are seeing also this here, 71 days on market, median. This is so weird. And it's a median price, like it's not even average, so it doesn't really make sense to me. Like what happened here? Some properties were stuck, maybe like new builds that were sold. But we're seeing like 780, and we're seeing the prices still like they're around the same area here. So it's too soon to see whether this thing is going to trend upwards or not. I think given the inflation, and if everything is stable and the Fed will stop increasing the rates, it might be the start of a trend, but I can't, we need to wait and see. But with the hot season and stabilization, I think it brings an uptick in prices. So if you're shopping around in this location, if you're kind of timing the market and you're planning to buy, look at the data and think, what do you think that will happen, and whether it's a good or bad time to buy for you. It's always an individual question. Okay, I don't see any other questions in the comment section, so I'm going to edit up here. Thank you so much for joining, for either joining the live stream or watching it afterwards in YouTube. If you're considering to purchase anything in Austin, if you're considering to sell your property, rent your property, feel free to reach out. We have a team, we're strong, we're data-driven. That's kind of what we do. If you have other questions about the market, if you want to run any type of queries, join the live stream. You can ask me to run queries on anything, not only on the target area. We're going to do a rotating live market update, so we're going to look at the other areas as well in the upcoming weeks. So join us if you live in these areas or if you care about this data. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next one.